The salvager's discovery. Juno Novak's breath crystallized in the air as she dragged her damaged mech suit through Theros' endless blizzard. The storm had come without warning, as they always did on this forgotten ice moon, transforming the jagged landscape into a howling white void that swallowed everything in its path. "Hold together, you piece of junk," she muttered, slapping the flickering control panel. The suit's right leg servos whined in protest, hydraulic fluid leaking from where the glacier had nearly crushed her an hour earlier. If the heating system failed now, she'd be dead before anyone noticed she was missing. Not that anyone would notice. Theros station had 500 registered salvagers, and Director Orloff made it clear they were all replaceable parts in his grand mining operation. Juno squinted through the whiteout, her scanner picking up the faint outline of an abandoned research outpost half buried in the ice. Salvation, at least for the night. She forced the mech forward, each step a battle against the storm's fury. The outpost's reinforced door groaned as she forced it open, then sealed it against the howling winds. Emergency lights flickered reluctantly to life, casting eerie blue shadows across abandoned workstations and toppled storage units. Remote Station 17, Juno read from a frost-covered plaque. Decommissioned 9 years ago. Perfect. No monitoring, no corporate drones, just a temporary haven until the storm passed. She powered down her mech to conserve energy, wincing as she extracted herself from the cockpit. Her thermal suit would keep her alive, but comfort was a luxury Theros never offered. The outpost's backup generator hummed to life when she activated it, providing minimal heat and power. While scavenging for supplies, Juno noticed something odd about the station's layout. One section of flooring seemed newer than the rest. Curiosity, her greatest asset and worst liability, drove her to investigate. Beneath the false flooring, she discovered a sealed hatch with no corporate markings. Strange. Everything on Theros belonged to Helios Mining Consortium. Unauthorized construction meant secrets, and secrets meant value. Her code breaker took 20 minutes to bypass the lock. The hatch opened with a soft hiss, revealing a narrow passage that sloped deep into the ice. The air that wafted up smelled unlike anything she'd encountered, sweet and electric, like ozone mixed with honey. "What were you hiding?" Juno whispered, activating her headlamp before beginning her descent. The passage opened into a small, perfectly circular chamber carved from the ice itself. What she found inside made her breath catch. 7 translucent cocoons, each about the size of her forearm, hung suspended from the ceiling. They glowed with a gentle inner light, pulsing blues, purples, and greens that cast dancing shadows on the ice walls. Inside each, Juno could make out small, curled forms with delicate limbs and iridescent skin. This was no corporate research project. Nothing about these creatures matched any species in the database she'd studied during her brief stint in xenobiology before washing out and ending up here. As she approached, the nearest cocoon's glow intensified. Something inside shifted, responding to her presence. A tiny appendage pressed against the translucent membrane, reaching toward her. Juno's scanner went wild, detecting unusual energy patterns emanating from the cocoons. The temperature in the chamber was rising rapidly, and the ice walls began to weep. "They're hatching," she realized with sudden certainty. And whatever had left them here would be coming back. Awakening. The first cocoon split with a soft crystalline chime, spilling luminescent fluid across the ice floor. Juno stepped back, her heart pounding as a small creature tumbled out, unfolding like origami coming to life. It resembled a 6-limbed fox, no larger than a house cat, with translucent skin that shifted colors with each labored breath. Its eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, opened slowly, revealing pupils like liquid mercury. "Hey there," Juno whispered, crouching down. "You're a long way from home, aren't you?" The creature chirped, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. It took a tentative step toward her, leaving bioluminescent footprints that faded after a few seconds. Before Juno could react, the remaining cocoons began to rupture in sequence. Soon, 7 small creatures huddled together, their bodies synchronizing into the same pulsing cobalt blue. When the smallest one approached her, Juno felt a strange pressure behind her eyes, like the beginnings of a headache, but somehow pleasant. Images flooded her mind, vast crystal forests, a sky filled with rings of light, a sense of warmth and safety suddenly shattered by blinding fear. "You're communicating," she gasped. "Telepathically?" The creatures moved closer, their bodies glowing brighter. The smallest one, Juno mentally dubbed it Echo, for the way its thoughts seemed to reverberate in her mind, climbed onto her lap. Its touch sent electrical tingles across her skin. Danger. Hide. Wait for Guardian. The thought wasn't hers, yet it nestled in her consciousness like a remembered dream. Guardian? Is that your parent? Echo's eyes blinked in sequence, and Juno somehow understood this as affirmation. Her wrist communicator chirped, the storm was clearing, which meant salvage crews would be scanning for resources soon. If they found these creatures. Helios Corporation had a standing bounty for exotic biological specimens. These creatures would be dissected, studied, weaponized if possible. Director Orlov himself had made fortunes selling alien biology to off-world military contractors. "I can't leave you here," Juno decided, removing her thermal jacket. The creatures climbed into it willingly, nestling against each other as she fashioned a makeshift carrier. "But this is temporary, understand? Until your guardian comes." Echo projected another image, a massive crystalline entity moving through stardusted void. The mental picture carried such vastness that Juno staggered under its weight. Whatever was coming for these young was ancient and powerful. And Juno had just decided to stand between a cosmic parent and its offspring. She returned to her damaged mech, securing the creatures in the emergency storage compartment. As she powered up the systems, all 7 began to glow in unison, and suddenly the damaged hydraulics sealed themselves, fluid recrystallizing. "Useful trick," Juno murmured, watching the repair indicators flash green. "Let's get you somewhere safe." But as she guided her mech back toward the salvage colony, she couldn't shake the feeling that her definition of safe was about to become dangerously relative. Hunters in the dark. 3 days later, Juno's cramped quarters had transformed into an alien nursery. The creatures, whom she now called the Luminari, had doubled in size, their bodies pulsing with energies that occasionally short-circuited her electronics. They consumed anything crystalline, salt, ice, even the silicon chips from her spare communicator. When they slept, they huddled together in perfect geometric patterns, their dreams seeping into Juno's mind, fragments of cosmic journeys, vast intelligences drifting between stars. Echo had become her translator, its mental voice growing stronger each day. Guardian searches. Guardian comes. Must hide better. Working on it, Juno muttered, checking her barricaded door. Thero's station was swarming with rumors of energy anomalies. Director Orlov had deployed additional security patrols, and the bounty for undocumented biological specimens had tripled overnight. Her scanner pinged, a security sweep, too close for comfort. The Luminari sensed her alarm, their bodies shifting to a wary amber hue. "Time to move," she whispered, gathering them into her pack. They had barely reached the maintenance tunnels when her communicator crackled to life. "Attention all personnel," Director Orlov's voice echoed through the station. "Anomalous entities have been detected in Sector 7. These entities are Helios property and must be secured intact. Substantial rewards for their capture." Juno froze. Sector 7, her quarters. They knew. A mental image from Echo showed armored figures breaking down her door, rifling through her belongings. The Luminari were seeing through the station's surveillance systems, using them like extended senses. "Impressive," Juno breathed. "But we need more than tricks to escape." They navigated the labyrinthine tunnels beneath the station, heading for the abandoned ice caverns where Juno had cached a backup mech. Behind them, security alerts blared as Orlov's mercenaries picked up their trail. Near the cavern entrance, Juno stumbled upon the station's head of security, Commander Voss, adjusting his cold weather gear. Novak, he said, unsurprised. Figured it was you. Always too curious for your own good. His hand moved toward his stun baton, but froze midway. The Luminari's eyes glowed in unison, and Vasa's expression went blank. We altered perception, Echo explained. Temporary. Vas stared through them as if they were invisible, then turned and walked away, muttering about sensor malfunctions. That won't hold them for long, Juno said, hurrying toward her backup mech. As they prepared to launch, a violent tremor shook the cavern. Ice cracked overhead, and the ground beneath them rumbled. Earthquake. Juno wondered, but Echo projected something else, a massive crystalline vessel breaking through Theros' atmosphere, sending shockwaves across the planet's surface. Guardian comes, Echo confirmed. But hunters come first. On cue, Orloff's voice boomed through her communicator, unidentified craft breaching atmosphere. All security forces mobilize. Capture those specimens at any cost. The cavern entrance exploded inward as armed mercenaries poured through, weapons charged. Juno sealed her mech, the Luminari helping to accelerate its systems beyond normal parameters. Hold tight, she told them, engaging thrusters. As they burst from the cavern into Theros' frozen wasteland, the sky above split open like a wound, spilling unearthly light across the ice. The Guardian had arrived. And it was not alone. The Guardian's arrival. The Guardian descended through Theros' atmosphere like a falling constellation, a massive crystalline entity composed of geometric patterns that constantly shifted and reformed. It pulsed with the same bioluminescence as the Luminari, only magnified 1,000-fold, casting prismatic light across the frozen landscape. Behind it came 3 identical vessels, their formations aggressive. Hunters. Friends of yours? Juno asked Echo as they raced across the ice fields in her overcharged mech. Not friends. Harvesters. They take Luminari. Use our energy. The young creatures trembled in unison, their fear of physical presence in Juno's mind. Overhead, the corporate ships launched from Theros Station, Director Orloff leading the charge. Their weapons systems powered up, targeting both Juno's mech and the approaching Guardian. They're going to start a war they can't win, Juno realized. The Guardian noticed the corporate ships and paused its descent, seemingly assessing. The Harvester vessels took advantage of this hesitation, firing crystalline harpoons that embedded in the Guardian's structure. The pain that echoed through the Luminari's collective consciousness nearly incapacitated Juno. Echo projected urgent images. The Harvesters had pursued them across multiple star systems, hunting Luminari young for the energy they could extract. Your Guardian needs help, Juno said, making a decision that defied all logical self-preservation. She reversed course, heading directly toward the aerial confrontation. Director Orloff, she broadcast on an open channel. The crystalline entity is a sentient being protecting its young. Stand down your weapons. Novak, Orloff's voice crackled back. Return our property immediately. These specimens are worth more than your life. They're not specimens, and they're definitely not yours, Juno responded, cutting the communication. The Luminari began to glow with unprecedented intensity, their combined energy surging through her mech systems. Echo's mental voice resonated with newfound strength. We can connect you. Speak to Guardian. Before Juno could respond, her consciousness expanded outward, beyond the confines of her physical form. She found herself navigating a vast crystalline network, the Guardian's mind, ancient and complex beyond human comprehension. Help us, she projected into this cosmic awareness. We can fight together. The Guardian's response wasn't words but understanding, a recognition of alliance. Its form began to reconfigure, channels of energy redirecting toward Juno's mech. When Orloff's ships opened fire, the Guardian channeled a protective barrier around Juno. The Luminari added their energy, and suddenly her mech was glowing, transformed into something neither human nor alien but a fusion of both technologies. Time to end this, Juno whispered. Her transformed mech projected a pulse that disabled the corporate ship's weapons systems. Meanwhile, the Guardian focused its energy on the harvesters, encasing them in crystalline structures that neutralized their engines. Director Orlov's panicked voice came through, "Novak. What have you done?" "Created an understanding," she replied. "These beings aren't resources to exploit. They're offering a partnership instead." Through her connection with the Luminari, Juno showed both Orlov and the Guardian a different path. The crystals could provide sustainable energy for Thero's station, while the humans could offer protection against the harvesters. Symbiosis instead of exploitation. Days later, as the Guardian prepared to depart with most of the young, Echo approached Juno one final time. "Some stay. Teach. Learn. Bridge between. Ambassador Luminari." Juno smiled. "I like it." As the Guardian ascended with 5 of the young, Echo and 1 other remained, their light a gentle presence beside her. Together they watched Theros transform, the beginning of something unprecedented in human-alien relations. Quite a promotion, Juno mused, from salvager to diplomat. Echo's response filled her mind with possibilities spanning stars and generations, connections waiting to be formed between worlds that had only ever whispered to each other across the void. Until now.